Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to completely, and I mean objectively, break down one of the most highly controversial, intense, and frankly extreme philosophies out there on achieving massive success. We're looking at a framework that basically takes conventional wisdom, tosses it out the window, and offers a brutally uncompromising playbook for high performance. Now, whether you find this approach incredibly inspiring or completely shocking, our goal today is to unpack the core mechanics of this mindset and see exactly what it demands of you. So I want to hook you right away with this question, because it really is the absolute foundational mindset of the source material we're examining today. Think about it. What would actually happen if you were afraid of nothing? Not other people, not failure, not even complete financial bankruptcy. According to the speaker, once you strip away literally all fear, your life suddenly becomes entirely limitless. It's a philosophy completely rooted in absolute, unshakable fearlessness. To vividly illustrate just how far the speaker takes this concept of fearlessness, get a load of this incredible personal anecdote. He openly states he was run over by a charging buffalo, got back up, chased it down, and killed it. Oh, and he claims to have killed a Kodiak bear with a knife, too. We're reporting this extreme story neutrally because it just perfectly captures his absolute refusal to ever be a victim to man or beast. In his own mind, he is unkillable, and that extreme self-belief is exactly what he argues is necessary to conquer life. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we can distill his somewhat chaotic motivational rants into a structured 5-pillar playbook. Pillar 1, the fearless mindset. Pillar 2, rejecting modern softness. Pillar 3, the myth of balance. Pillar 4, cultivating an elite circle. And finally, Pillar 5, hardcore daily habits. Let's start right at the top. Pillar number 1, the fearless mindset and achieving the limitless. The speaker directly equates a total lack of fear with achieving extraordinary high-performance success. He points to historical titans of industry, people like Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, and Steve Jobs. And he idolizes these figures not just because they were wealthy, but specifically for their ruthless toughness. The argument here is that extraordinary success requires a level of pure grit that he believes is largely missing from today's society. To be a titan, you have to be unbreakably tough. Let's escalate the energy here for a second. I want you to visualize a massive goal. The speaker uses the number $100 million. He argues that the main differentiator of high-performance people is that they truly, genuinely believe in the extraordinary. They aren't aiming for a comfortable living, they're aiming for massive, world-altering numbers. But there is a very specific psychological trap hidden in setting a goal like this. And that trap is what happens when you hit 96 million. He outlines this really fascinating psychological theory. Basically, your subconscious doesn't know you completely. If your goal is 100 million, as you hit 75, 80, 90 million, your subconscious starts to get comfortable. By the time you hit 96 million, it effectively goes to sleep. You might stumble over the 100 million finish line by accident, but you lose your core drive. This is exactly why he deeply regrets not setting his own goals even higher. Because the reality is, you'll never exceed your own highest and wildest expectations. Moving right along to pillar number 2, rejecting modern softness, or what he calls the Snowflake era. Now, a quick warning, the language in this section is highly provocative. The speaker launches a full-scale critique against what he perceives as the intense fragility of modern society. And to back this up, he points to objective data. He cites a study showing that the average man's handshake pressure dropped from 118 pounds back in 1986 down to just 96 pounds in 2016. He uses this as proof to argue that society is literally physically softening over time. And it gets even more intense. He also notes that over the last 50 years, there's been a massive 60 to 70% drop in testosterone levels and sperm counts. He takes these biological statistics and uses them to ground his sweeping cultural claims, arguing that people today are just deathly afraid of everything and are crumbling under the slightest pressure. In his own words, snowflakes melt under pressure. To really test this theory of modern softness, he poses an extreme rhetorical question, calling it his Snowflake Test. He asks, what would you do if someone walked up and spit in your wife's face? He openly mocks anyone who gives a passive, overly understanding response. You know, the people who say they try to figure out if the aggressor was just having a bad day. Instead, he advocates for decisive, immediate, and aggressive action, arguing that society desperately needs people who can make hard decisions and actually pull the trigger. So the crucial point is how this builds into pillar number 3, the myth of balance and the reality of work-life choices. This aggressive mindset totally bleeds into everyday life, introducing some absolutely brutal personal sacrifices. The speaker completely rejects the entire concept of work-life balance, quoting Jack Welch to say there are only work-life choices and their consequences. He directly juxtaposes missing your daughter's sweet 16 birthday party against dying flat broke and homeless. He argues that conventional correctness tells you you're a terrible person for missing a birthday, but he firmly states that the pundits who preach that kind of balance, well, they're usually poor themselves. And to prove he's not just preaching this from a high horse, he highlights his own intense, deeply personal regrets. He regrets being an army officer who never saw combat. He regrets that he didn't demand his mother fight death longer the night before she passed away. And, like we mentioned earlier, he regrets not setting his goals high enough. This really brilliantly illustrates how deeply and uncompromisingly this high-performance philosophy permeates even his own personal grief and self-reflection. Which brings us to pillar number 4, cultivating an elite circle by auditing your environment. This ruthless auditing of his own life naturally extends to the people around him. The source insists that if you're hanging out at the local pub with general pessimists, your future is entirely dictated by that exact mediocrity. He utilizes this great quote from John Lennon: "Being honest may not get you many friends, but it will always get you the right ones." The directive here is crystal clear. You have to ruthlessly curate your peer group. It absolutely does not matter if people hate what you say or how you say it. For him, the old adage holds completely true. Show me your friends and I will show you your future. Now, part of keeping that elite circle is maintaining absolute emotional control. He defines true power as sitting back, observing things with pure logic, and exercising restraint. He draws this stark contrast between modern safe spaces at universities and his era's sticks and stones mentality. His point is pretty profound. If words control you, that means literally everyone else can control you. True power is refusing to let defensive words or emotional baggage govern your actions. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final pillar, pillar number 5, hardcore daily habits and systems for success. Because all the mindset and emotional detachment in the world means absolutely nothing without actionable systems. First up is a strict time management framework he learned as a young officer called the NATO reporting system. Every single day you set your goals, you report what you actually accomplished yesterday, and you identify your challenges. No excuses, period. He shares this unbelievable anecdote about showing up to a major meeting with executive Klaus Kleinfeld in a wheelchair with an IV drip, nearly dead. To him, an injury isn't a challenge, it's barely a speed bump. It's about unwavering commitment to the daily routine. Next is a habit he adopted from the founder of Walmart, Sam Walton, the sundown rule. It's all about over-communicating. You clear your desk and answer every single message before you leave the office every single day. You completely refuse to procrastinate. In fact, he explicitly states that just reading books or passively listening to explainers like this one is useless. It's honestly just another form of procrastination if you aren't pulling the trigger and taking immediate action on what you learn. Another major habit of his is zero tacit approval. Basically, he never gives quiet agreement. If he hears nonsense, he goes out of his way to call it out immediately. This achieves two big things. It ensures his own message is always heard loud and clear, and it acts as this continuous, automatic filter for his social circle, constantly pushing away the weak and making sure he's surrounded only by the right people. As we look at these intense habits, the speaker presents a really compelling argument. Massive success is rarely an accident. He points to little Tiger Woods playing golf at age 3 and the Williams sisters training since childhood. They were explicitly programmed for success. He contrasts this with his own childhood, noting his father's only real goal was to simply keep him alive. He had to build these hardcore habits entirely from scratch, proving that you have to actively program yourself if you weren't lucky enough to be programmed early. Which brings us to the end of this incredibly intense playbook. The speaker fundamentally believes that whoever or whatever put us here to be all that we can be, not a fraction thereof. So I'll turn his ultimate challenge right back to you as we wrap up today. Are you living up to your true, limitless potential, or are you letting fear, softness, and poor habits keep you settling for just a fraction of what you could be? It's definitely a challenging thought to leave you with. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.